other than Adam Cohen, DadaRocks, the king of all media. Adam, what's going on?
What's going on? How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Glad for you to join the show. And it's important for me because, Adam, you are the first actual guest on the LNP show, and I think it's apropos that you are, wouldn't you say?
I am so honored to be the first guest of the show. It is an outstanding turn of events. As you know, I've been prodding this out of you for so many years now. I am so happy to be here and to be honored with this humble little notion of being the first guest.
Yeah, I think you were poking and prodding me about 4 years ago about doing this, and I was like, I'm not sure. I don't know, Adam. So, but we're here. We're here, man, and there's so much going on. We have so many similarities between us with our young children and with being in career IT. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing when I say career IT, Adam. But so just tell me, like right now, I will just get into it. Like with you and with DadaRocks and all that you do, what are some of the things that you're working on right now that you want to bring to our listeners?
Well, we got a big Twitter party going on tomorrow night, so Thursday night, and we have about $400 worth of little prizes, a lot of gift cards given away, and then the big thing is the following week, the following Thursday, we have a huge Twitter party with New York Life, and that'll be like $1,000 worth of prizes. I think I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I know the grand prize is a $350 gift card, and so we got big stuff going on in the Twitter field. In terms of life, we have some milestones coming up as we just started my son into first grade. So we'll talk a little bit about the back to school woes and how to deal with that. And then coming up in the near future, we have some awesome giveaways from Disney and from Activision. Both of them are releasing their big holiday gift guides items, which is going to be, you've heard of it, Disney Infinity 2.0, and from Activision you have Skylanders Trap Team. And so we have huge things going on with those two fronts coming up on DadaRocks.com. And in terms of Late Night Parents, you'll see more content from authors and editorial pieces from maybe some moms in the near future, kind of talking about that love-life balance and work-life balance. And so those are the kind of things that we have on the future horizon.
That's excellent. And it's just, you know what? I get kind of excited because you blink your eyes, it's going to be the holiday season. And
Blink, I'm already setting up a tree. I'm already setting up a tree. I'm skipping over Halloween. I'm going right to the tree. No worries.
There's nothing more than as soon as it hits Halloween and you go into whatever mall and Christmas trees are up, you see Santa walking around taking pictures with people, and you're kind of like, wait a minute, isn't this kind of rushed? But I don't know.
You know what? I'll talk about it from the standpoint of that the holiday seasons are getting so condensed. And a lot of that has to do with our modern lifestyles. We're all running 150 miles an hour, and if you don't start early, if you don't push these holiday seasons a little bit, you're not going to get there in time. So what you start seeing is Halloween. I started seeing people purchase Halloween costumes in August. When I was a kid, you got a Halloween costume the first week of October. That was it. There was no like. I have a Thor costume for my son that we got at the Disney Outlet store, and that's already done. We already have his Halloween costume. He's Thor. Congratulations. But it was September when we bought that. That's not what I grew up with. But I understand it. When we were growing up, we had more time, we had more freedom. Now, with dual working parents and everything's stressed, and you got to run around, and every kid's playing 5 sports growing up, and 32 after-school clubs, and not AV and Legos and everything like that. You have to make the little things count, so you have to get in on it early, especially if you want to be like the one that has a choice. If I wanted to be able to choose any costume, I need to buy it now. If I wait till October, it's going to be a little bit hard to find. And, you know, thankfully things like Amazon make it a little bit easier and easier to do that.
That's true. That's true. And you know what? With it being the new school year, and we're everyone's still talking about back to school. I'm thinking about when I'm driving back and forth down Old Country Road to my daughter's school to pick her up from either basketball or soccer or cheerleading, or I'm taking my son to karate or basketball practice, and I'm like, oh my goodness, that's what our lives, have really become.
You know, that's why we talk about things like you need a good headphone set when you're in the car. You need a good car. You need a good seat when you're in the car. We're in the car if you're in suburbia all the time. If you're out of the car more than you're in the car, you're probably at work or you're probably sleeping. But you're right. You know, we've become a society of constant commuters, moving and going, and so I think you're right. From my standpoint, I live in the city, so I have a little bit more of an urban environment. But I was sitting there tonight, like smushing people over on the subway so my son could get a seat on the subway train. You know, when we run around, it is what it is. You know, you get on a subway, you go run up, you see a movie, we came down. So tonight I took my son to see the screening of Dolphin Tale 2, which is a Warner Brother movie coming out in the near future, starring Morgan Freeman and Harry Connick Jr., and it was a fantastic tearjerker of a movie. I was welling up. I'm not afraid to say that. I am in touch with my emotions. But when you sit there and see dolphins on screen getting all cuddly, you just can't help but go, ah. And then at the end, when you really see the raw footage from the actual events, it's even more incredible that they were able to do this in such a short turnaround. Because literally these events were happening January of this year, and they have a movie about it already out in September.
Yes, but just as you stated before, that's how our lives are. Everything's rushed. Everything's condensed. Everything is, and I hate to say this word, everything is Apple.
Well, talking about Apple, does that segue into our big announcement that they just released the other day?
Yes.
All right, so we now know that the products of the holiday season are the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, and somewhere coming probably right around Valentine's Day will be the Apple Watch. It's not the iWatch, but the Apple Watch.
Right, the Apple Watch.
The Apple Watch. And it comes in two distinct sizes, and then I am sure once they get a little bit more fleshed out in what those will be, there'll be different size hard drives and different, beyond just screen size. And then a couple of months later, they'll probably have a sport version that'll be a narrower band.
I gotta jump in here because something I said to you when we were not too far from the seaport, and I said, Adam, I just got the new iPhone 5S, and you just looked at me. You was like, you couldn't wait. You couldn't wait. And I'm like millions of other folks that are now sitting on, I don't want to say defunct, a model that's no longer chic or hot or in vogue.
Well, I will tell you, like I tell my friends, is that if you purchase an Apple product within the last 30 days, most cell phone providers will allow you to go and return it to step back a model to your old phone, and if you could put up with it for another 2 weeks, you could go get your new phone. If you can't wait till the 19th and you're within that 30 days, Apple will exchange it. So
gotcha.
Those are the important things to remember, is that Apple has a phenomenal customer service cycle. And so if you just recently bought a phone, you could go back and say, look, you just announced it. I want to wait the 2 weeks. They will make that work for you. Really, the only thing that might get the hiccup is your activation of your contract, and they're very good about smoothing that out. If you bought it from a third party, it's really dependent on their warranty and their receipt and their return system. So sometimes as soon as you open something, that's the end of it. Those are the only things you got to pay attention to. But, yeah, I've been holding out hope. I'm ready. I'm making the jump to the 6. I think the 6 Plus for me is just a little bit on the too large side. So I think the iPhone 6 is going to be seeing the inside of my jean pockets very shortly.
So you're telling me you weren't a fan of the Note or the Note 2 or the Note 3 because they kind of look like carbon copies, Adam. I don't know.
I will sit there and say there's a good meme going around. The iPhone 6, welcome to 2012 Android. And I think it's very true that Apple did not make anything that was groundbreaking. Nothing was new. Let's be very clear. Apple doesn't right now. Maybe the watch will be something new, but Apple's not about new. They're about perfection. So when the iPhone 6 comes out and you sit there and you have an NFC payment system on your iPhone, you will use it. You will use it the same way people pay with the Starbucks apps everywhere. I don't see people going to Starbucks other than swipe a credit card and use the app. That's all I see in New York City. I don't see anyone paying cash. And so I think when you look at that list of partners and you see Starbucks, Toys R Us, Babies R Us, Home Depot, and all the partners that have filled in now for this NFC payment system, I really do believe that's where you're going to start seeing big headway in terms of this digital locker space. And I got to tell you, as a person that just had his debit card stolen out from underneath them, I am going to have a much easier time using my phone and having some encrypted data technology as opposed to a magnetic strip that can be easily copied and 18 digits that they even randomly guessed they could get right. So I am very much looking forward to having the next generation technology. I do not understand why we never got to adopting the European standards of having the smart chips in the card where the chips had an encrypted number, the number kept rotating, and so you can never guess what the number was at that moment without having the card in your hand. So I'm very happy that we're making some security leaps in this field, and it was, personal little note, protect your credit card numbers and don't use a debit card everywhere,
Right. That, and it's those tips that are so important that we always bring on, like parents, DadaRocks, just the dad-related blogs that we're all affiliated with. Because, being a techie does help us understand that part of the business. I try not to get too geeked out on this show because, we don't want to lose people, but I will be impressed with Apple, Adam, when my Metro card, I can use basically my iPhone to swipe and walk through a turnstile. That's when I'll be impressed.
I think that's probably not today and that's not tomorrow, but that is going to happen in the next two to 3 years. I think the MTA sees it. They were playing with that technology 3 years ago as a beta program with one of the banks, with Citibank, I believe. And so I don't believe that technology is too far away. I think the MTA it's on their radar that they have to get away from the $1 Metro cards. And I do believe that they've seen enough issues with the Metro cards and the magnetic swipes that they are needing to start evaluating next generation technologies.
Oh yeah, you're definitely true about that. Listen, Adam.
But going back to the parenting notion for an idea, can we just talk about being parents one moment with kids that have smartphones?
Sure.
There was a major celebrity hack that went on a couple of weeks ago, and we all know about this. But I'm not shaming them because I think, unfortunately, in our kids' future, the sexting is going to be the standard. The new photos are going to be as what we do as selfies today. So I don't sit there and shame them on that. But I think we all need to have an understanding that when you take anything and put it onto a computer, a digital device, put it on your hard drive, onto a USB stick in your bag. If you lose your bag and that USB stick gets put into another computer, what are they going to see? And I think we all need to remember when you're creating these data files that you have to think about what would matter if someone else saw this. This was also a conversation early on during the days of Napster when kids were installing Napster on their dad's computers, and the QuickBooks were in the same download directory with the whole tax. So it's the same kind of technology. It's the same conversation. It's just that we have to update it and talk about it in a new way. Is that if you're putting something in a digital format, it could go anywhere. So that's my little PSA for the night.
Adam, you're dead on, because after our next guest, I was going to go into that whole piece about, when you take that picture, what happens to it. We're going to touch upon it briefly, but we got to thank you for coming through, and I want to let the folks know the best way to get in contact with you, how to see the latest blogs and what's going on in the wonderful world of DadaRocks.
I appreciate it. So you can find me out on Twitter at DadaRocks. You can find me on Instagram. I do a lot of photography these days, and that's DadaRocks. And just in general, you can find me at DadaRocks.com.
Gotcha, Adam. Thanks so much, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, Ted. Have a good night.
That was Adam Cohen, DadaRocks. It's a great website to go to. You might find a blog post or two from yours truly on there. Adam and I, we've worked together for many, many years. And, you know, through blogging, through professionally, through the IT world. So it's always good to have him on. But I think I see someone else pulling in to check out the LNP show right now, and I see something from the west side. So let me just check and see who that is. So I just plugged in someone from with the 858 area code, and that could only be the great CS Keys.
What's going on,
CS,
Ted? How you doing, my man?
Pretty good, CS. What's going on, brother?
Oh, I can't call it. Just loving the sunshine out here.
Oh, I know you are. I mean, folks, this is CS Keys. You can find him on Twitter at CS Keys Show. You can find him every Saturday